Hi, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the definitive guide on journaling. The stack is so heavy. So these are the journals I filled up just in the past 3 years, but I have been journaling every single day, probably only missing, honestly, like a handful of days since I was a freshman in college, or an undergrad in college. So at least like 15 plus years. So as you can see, I'm a journaling addict. Absolutely love it. It brings me so much peace and joy and mental health and clarity, and I think the world will be a better place if we all journaled. So I'm gonna make this a very thorough video for you, walk you through a day actually writing in my journal with me, give you all the hot tips from somebody who does this obsessively. I also went on to get my Master of Fine Arts degree in writing. I'm a professional writer and editor, so you are in good hands here. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to words. But that said, you do not need to be a writer to write in a journal. It does, like, I am not writing poetry in these books. They are not artistically beautifully written or anything like that. If you know a language, you can journal. It's purely just getting thoughts out onto paper, and that's what's so cathartic about it. So you don't have to be a writer at all. But I'm just so excited to share this habit with you because it is truly, not exaggerating, the reason I go to bed each night excited to wake up in the morning. Coffee also factors in, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, how that's part of the routine and the ritual, and that's why it's so fulfilling. But I do just get so much out of it, and I get so excited as I'm going to bed each night, so I have a reason to wake up in the morning. So the way I see it, there are two main reasons or main types of journaling. One is that you want other people to read it, or you want to reread it in the future. You want to keep a record for posterity. Like, you want your words to live on and document this time in your life. But there's also the second type of journaling, which is just to dump out what's on your mind, spew out your thoughts, not make it beautiful, not make it perfect, not make it ever meant to be read by anyone else or even yourself. It's just the process of getting your thoughts out onto paper. I think there's a time and a place for both types of journaling. I think they're both really, really beautiful, amazing habits, and I do both. So I'll show you the types of journals that I keep. This one right here is a 5-year journal. It has a space in it for every single day for 5 years in a row. So you can see exactly what you did on this date for 5 years running. This is a journal that I keep for posterity. Like, not really for other people. It's still a little bit cringy to think of someone reading this, but it's truly just a record of what we did each day. There's nothing like super embarrassing or vulnerable in here. It's just like where I was and what I did and what was going on in the world. This covers 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and I'll finish it next year in 2023. So this type of diary I think is awesome for yourself to reread and revisit a time in your life, maybe for your kids to read one day and see what you were up to, or even for future generations to be like, wow, so that's what life was like in 2020, how crazy. So that's one type of journal. The other type of journal, like I mentioned, is more of a brain dump. And this is my absolute favorite way to journal. That's what like all of these notebooks are. It is cathartic, it's so helpful. I had a teacher, I think it was my 8th grade English teacher, who shared a quote that said, "How do I know what I think until I see what I say?" But I think it's all about like getting your thoughts out and kind of recognizing what are you thinking, what are your thought patterns, helping you decide what you think about a certain thing. You know, like I don't know what I think until I see what I say on paper. That's how my brain works. So that is why I have filled up journals and journals and journals of just my thoughts first thing in the morning, my favorite type of journaling. And for that, I like to use just a spiral notebook. I like a spiral notebook because you can open it all the way. It's really easy to write on both sides. Over the years, I have invested in kind of nicer journals. This one's a really pretty baby pink. It has a place to write the dates. Super cute. There was the whole year of 2019. I bought these journals and I filled them all up. And they look really cute and pretty together. I mean, that's a really nice thing to have at the end of the year. The only thing is we're gonna talk more about this, but I don't reread my past journals. That's not why I do it. I don't want anybody else to read them either. It's pretty embarrassing, probably, just kind of vulnerable space. So I've since stopped investing in nice journals. These I think were like 15 bucks a pop, and they're really nice if you want to keep them. But I literally fill up a journal and then recycle it. You can take the spiral binding out and they are totally recyclable, so your words do live on in a way. So one of the main places I get journals nowadays is actually the thrift store. If you go to the little like school supply section, they usually have blank notebooks. This one was 99 cents. I got it on half off day. It was 50 cents. So it's not something I would have picked at Barnes & Noble. But at this point in my journaling career, I'm very dedicated, so I don't need like a cute journal to motivate me. If you're just starting out, you might want to get a cute journal to start. But over the years, when you've been doing it like 15 years, suddenly your journals start looking like this. This was a dollar store notebook that I had glued something on the front and then I accidentally ripped it off, and it's so not cute. But I filled up every single page in here and I got so many thoughts down on paper, and now I can just recycle it and move on. So that's the beauty of just brain dump journaling. I love it. And the third type of journal that I like to do is just a gratitude journal. So for this, I will try to get a nicer, more beautiful journal, because this is something that I'm definitely going to keep. I'm happy to always reread it. I wouldn't be embarrassed for anybody else to read. You know, they might be like, wow, she really loves her dogs, but it's just things I'm grateful for. It's very positive. I fill this out at the end of the night and I try to be positive and grateful for my life. So I'm going to walk you guys through a day in my life of journaling, how I use these 3 different types of journal. You do not have to start with all 3 journals at all. I'm sharing this with you so that you can see which one resonates for you, and you can pick up one of these methods maybe if it ticks. But after a few years, sometimes the practice evolves, and this is what's really fun for me. I absolutely love doing this. So I recorded actually like a couple weeks ago my morning routine, and then we'll also do the little night routine just so you can kind of see what an actual day in the life of journaling looks like. Okay, so this routine starts with my quiet time basket. I just have my basket of supplies so I can take it into any room I want. But I usually just like crash out here on the couch with all the comfy pillows and blankets. And in this box, I have my current journal, my previous journal. This is my 5-year journal. And then this is a little daily reading book that I like to do, kind of like a non-denominational devotional sort of. I also have a basket of skincare because, of course, that's me. I like to do my skincare while I'm also journaling and wear little eye masks and things like that. I have pen, highlighter, little supplies all ready to go here in this basket. And here's my setup on my little side table. I have all of the beverages, starting with first and foremost coffee. And I have that on an electric mug warmer. I actually got this technically for Nate, but it's just so handy. Whoever's sitting here on the couch can have their tea or coffee stay warm. I don't think it's like a miracle product because it's just a cheap one from Amazon, but it does keep my coffee warm. And I go even more all out, and I have a second cup of coffee here in this thermos. This keeps it really piping hot until I'm done with my first cup. I just refill the mug. I don't have to get up. I don't have to interrupt my quiet time flow. And I just think having 2 cups of coffee is so decadent. It makes for such a just luxurious morning routine. So I love to have my second cup here ready to go. Of course, I also have water, gotta hydrate, and I never have quiet time without a candle. I just get these from the dollar store. Super cheap, simple $1 little vanilla candle. But if you've seen my candle tips video, you know, ideally you would burn a candle all the way across. So I like to have a small sized candle that can actually burn across during my hour that I can spend here. And I just think having candlelight is essential to this process. So soothing and calming, and it just sets the mood perfectly. I also make sure to open the blinds first thing so my plants can start getting sunshine for the day. I can start getting sunshine for the day. It really sets the tone and gets me ready to just rise and shine and feel all the positive, happy, cozy morning journaling feelings. I love it. I also usually have a puppy or 2 with me. Pets love quiet time. Like, they get it. They get the vibe. And the first thing I do is write in this journal. I also have my favorite type of pen. This is non-negotiable that I have this specific pen. I used to journal with just whatever pen I could find, but over the years I've come to be very committed. I'm in a monogamous relationship with these felt tip pens. I absolutely love them. And at the top of the page, I just write the date and time. I don't know why I'm in the habit of writing the actual time of day at the top. I think because, you know, sometimes I might journal at night or later in the day, so it's kind of interesting to come back and see that. And I don't put the year, but just a little word of wisdom. Put the year somewhere in the front of the journal so that if you do want to ever look back on it, you'll know what year you're seeing. And I put the day of the week because that tends to have a lot of impact on what I'm doing that day. So I usually just start out by saying good morning. People asked me in my question box on Instagram if I write Dear Diary, and I don't, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you want to. And honestly, my first thoughts are always, I'm just so happy to be here. I love feeling gratitude just wash over me first thing in the mornings, and I usually try to dwell on that for a minute because I've had jobs that started at 4 a.m. at Starbucks, or I had to be in an office at 8 a.m. and I just know it really is a luxury to take a little time for yourself in the morning, so I'm so grateful. I don't usually get too poetic in my journal. You certainly can if you're inspired. Sometimes I do, and it's really fun. I'll just get a little poetic for a moment. But I honestly just don't censor this at all. I don't try to make it special. I just dump out whatever comes to mind. So typically at this point, my mind turns to what I did yesterday. I do keep a little record of what I did in my other journal that I'll show you after this, but this is kind of my space if I want to flesh out any more thoughts on what happened yesterday. Like, you know, there's nobody that really wants to hear about my closet reorganization project, so I just assume just tell my journal my thoughts on it. It's not really something I need to be telling everybody I talk to all day. So I like to kind of get those thoughts out, and then I usually sort of turn my thoughts to the day ahead of me. And this is an area that really helps me think through the day I have, my to-do list, and things I want to do, and kind of structure my day better. So this is just a space to kind of think through the day ahead, make some notes about that. Sometimes I have a lot that I need to figure out for how I'm going to get everything done today. Sometimes it's just a couple little thoughts. Sometimes I'll transfer things over to my to-do list as I'm working on this. Just kind of like thinking through, almost not really visualizing, but yeah, kind of visualizing the day ahead, like step by step what's going to happen, and taking any notes that come up for that. And flip into the next page. So I usually just kind of let my mind wander after I've typically naturally kind of covered yesterday and a little bit about today. So I'm just going to let my mind wander, see where it goes. Sometimes I have so many things on my mind that I want to write about that I will make a little note at the top of the page, like in really tiny handwriting, and I'll just jot whatever's on my mind at the top of the page so I remember to get to it, like a little bullet point for me to come back to as I'm filling up my page. That's just something I do if I have a lot on my mind. I know several people told me they have kind of the opposite problem where they don't know what they want to write about, but sometimes there really are days where you have a lot you want to get to, so I just make a little tiny note, and then once I've written it out in my journal, I can cross it out or whatever. It just reminds me that I wanted to touch on those things. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of free flow, free consciousness a page here and let my thoughts flow a little bit. Sometimes I'll write about dreams I had, if they're kind of like funny or I just need to clear them from my mind. I find in real life, nobody wants to hear your dreams usually. So that's another thing that I prefer to just tell it to my journal instead of telling somebody else in conversation later that doesn't really care. So yeah, sometimes I'll jot down my dreams. Also, I was just going to mention that I write in like a messy cursive handwriting when I write in my journal because I love cursive handwriting. I don't know why it's going away. And I think it's just the fastest way to write. Sometimes my brain is going so much faster than my hand, and it's frustrating that I like can't keep up. So cursive handwriting helps. But also I think that's what I love about journaling is it does slow my thoughts down to the pace that I can physically write it out. So like while I was handwriting out what I dreamed about, my mind's already racing off to the next thing. And this kind of slows the pace of my thoughts down, and I think it helps start my day in a more calm note that way. So I just kind of let my thoughts flow. I didn't think I was going to write about summertime, but apparently that's what came to mind. And sometimes I'll go for a few pages. Like bare minimum, I try to fill up just one of these pages, but on average I probably do like 2 or 3 pages. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my journal session for today. One other thing I was going to mention is sometimes if I do have an entry that I want to come back to and reread, or I had a realization or something helpful on that page, I dog ear it because I don't generally reread my whole journal. So if there is something I want to come back to, I will just dog ear it And this isn't necessarily anything I want to come back to. It's not like my deepest entry ever, but that's kind of the point. Like there's no right way to journal. There's no wrong way to journal. It doesn't have to be perfect or poetic or life-changing. It's really just the process of like sitting here with my coffee and my candle, taking some deep breaths and slowing my thoughts down. So that's what I love about it. So when I sign off at the end, it's totally silly, but for whatever reason, I do this. There's a phrase in Nate's family that's love you, miss you. When he was a kid, he used to say that on the phone when he hung up. So we always say love you, miss you to each other and abbreviate it LYMY. And so for whatever reason, since I met him, I always, in my journal entry, love you, miss you, because I do love my journal and I do miss it until the next time I can write in it. And I just like having some kind of sign off. So maybe you want to have a little special sign off of your own, or maybe you want to borrow love you, miss you. So that's all I do in this journal. Like I said, this is my brain dump journal. And then this is the one that I actually record like what I did each day. I keep this little tab in it so I can flip to today. And I actually write about the day before in this journal, because this is where I write everything that happened that day, and I don't know what's going to happen yet today. So today is June 23rd, and the first thing that I do is fill in the space for today. So the year 2022, the date. I like to write the day of the week, so Thursday, and I put a little exclamation point to make it festive. And then tomorrow I'll come fill that in. But I like to go ahead and write this because it's partially like a commitment to come back and do it. And also it's just like one less thing to think about tomorrow. I don't have to think like, wait, what day of the week was it yesterday? Etc. So today I'm filling in yesterday's. Yesterday was a Wednesday. And I just love this journal because I can see everything I did in 2019, 2020, and 21 on this day. This has been a really interesting time to have a 5-year journal because 2019 was like normal. I went to Disney that day. And then 2020 was, as you know, a complete mess. So this day in 2020 was special because Nate got to go back to Dave & Buster's when they reopened. And yeah, it's just kind of fun to look back through the years and see how the times are changing. I try to include current events when it's relevant. I try to talk about our little doggies. But yeah, I mostly just put the little ins and outs of the day. I think it's interesting to look back at like the types of foods we were eating, the types of clients I had for work, what we were physically doing each day. So yesterday, after work, finally finished the closet project. Very excited about that. So that's it. This is really quick. If you ever want just a super, super quick journal routine, highly recommend this. It's only 5 lines per day, so you can't make it take too long. And I will leave you with this beautiful quote that she shared from Anne of Green Gables, one of the best books of all time. She said, "I believe the nicest and sweetest days are not those on which anything very splendid or wonderful or exciting happens, but just those that bring simple little pleasures, following one another softly like pearls slipping off a string." So good. And actually that really summarizes my feelings about journaling. Like, the best days of journaling aren't necessarily when I have something really splendid to write about or anything really crazy. It's just the simple little pleasure of like touching the paper, smelling the paper, writing on it, you know, having a candle lit, sipping my coffee, having a puppy dozing next to me. It just is such a calm, simple little pleasure. And it just starts the day off so sweetly. So thank you for sharing morning quiet time with me, guys. All right, fast forward to evening time. I just crawled into bed and I just love ending my day with my gratitude journal. It's the perfect way to end the day on a positive note, on a grateful note, obviously. So I will show you what I do in here. I used to really not understand the point of a gratitude journal because basically every day I would do this. I would literally, like, these are just the first 3 things that always come to mind for me. I mean, that's obviously just kind of repetitive to do that every single day. So I started instead like challenging myself. I wouldn't actually write an entry like that. Instead, I would write like something specific about each of those things and try to think of something different each day. if that's what, like if that's what's coming to me. Or I also just think about specific things that happen during the day in general that I'm grateful for. And the more I got in the habit of just kind of pushing myself outside of like listing the top obvious things every time, it became easier. And the really fun thing about a gratitude journal is once you get in the habit of looking for things to be grateful for, you find more and more of them. So it's kind of like when you start noticing red cars, all of a sudden every car on the highway is a red car. When you start thinking about keeping a gratitude journal, all of a sudden everything throughout your day is like, ooh, I could put that in my gratitude journal later. And you just start collecting like little moments to be grateful and happy about. At least that's been my experience. So, all right, let me fill this out for today. Another thing I kind of push myself to do is write in a complete sentence, not just write like the nouns, like husband, home, dogs. If I'm super, super exhausted and tired, I will just make like a little quick bulleted list like that. But I try to write a whole sentence and really, really feel the gratitude and the emotion of gratitude, because that is the whole point of a gratitude journal. Okay, actually I was kind of not in the zone because I was trying to film this and I forgot to write this like a complete sentence. Normally I would write, I'm so thankful for Nate being so sweet and helpful, making me laugh with his singing today. Or I'm so grateful for my freshly cleaned house, the feeling of the crisp sheets and the vacuum lines. So I kind of usually alternate between saying like, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful, or I'm so happy that so-and-so happened. And yeah, it's just a small thing, but somehow making it like a complete sentence like that usually helps. And I forgot to do that. And so anyway, I will usually list like 3 to 5 things, and I can usually get 2 or 3 days on a page. So I can make a journal last a really long time this way. And I do like to use a really pretty nice journal for this, so that helps motivate me. And just being honest, this is the journal I'm least consistent with out of all of my little journal practices, because I get so tired. It's like almost midnight right now, and I get so eager to just crash. But I try to do at least, this little bare minimum, and it does just help me in my day with, visions of sugar plum fairy drops or whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying. But, happy, positive, good, sweet thoughts to drift off to. And one of the last things I will do is write the next day's date. I don't really love pre-dated journals because I don't like having a specific amount of space. Like if it's like one day, per page, I feel like I have to fill up the whole page, or I feel like I can never go over a page. So I kind of just make my own pre-dated journal by filling in the next day's date. And then one other thing I do when I write in the next day's date is I just have like a quick, super quick flash of coming back here tomorrow and saying, it was such an amazing day. It was such a great day. So much to be grateful for. So much to be happy and thankful about. And I just have like a little quick flash of like fast forwarding happy feelings into tomorrow. I don't know. That's just a little thing that I do when I write tomorrow's date, and I hope that I can come back here and report so many good things. But before I call it a night, I have to add one last thing and say, I'm so grateful for you. And I do mean you. Thank you for watching this video and being on this journaling journey with me. And good night.